Good afternoon, Chaos. This is Hekalatos, your friendly Legion's leader here to do another review of one of my Legion's teammates, Shaka bashing. I apologize for the wait. It's been a crazy few weeks, but I still got you, so don't worry about it. First, Shaka is a fairly recent level 85, and asked if I could take a look at his arena team and possibly make some suggestions, as well as some possible compositions or groups that you could use in the tank raid. And I'm also going to throw in very little that I can and the last minute preparations for territory battles. So let's just dive right in and see what Shaka has got. We see first and foremost he has a Zeta Maul lead with a Sith Trooper, Savage, Darth Vader, and a Barriss Offee. We're looking at it. Well, let's see, is Barriss Zeta'd for her heal, which she is. So whenever anybody is critically hit, they will not only gain stealth, but they will also gain percentage of their health, which is not bad. Not necessarily the most common one that we see in a Sith team, but given that you have some high health guys like Sith Trooper, Darth Vader, and Savage Opress, can totally understand. But if you're looking to maybe strengthen your squad, I would highly recommend, if you are capable, getting Darth Nihilus and throwing him in there. Looks like your Darth Nihilus is 4-star. If you can farm him, he is a fantastic addition to any Sith team, so he would totally be great. The other option that I would present to you is a General Kenobi if you have him unlocked, which you do not. So I know you're getting close to General Kenobi because you've been with us for a while, and obviously we just give out General Kenobi shards to anybody that comes and participates and continues to provide tickets, which you do. So he will be there shortly. If you want to get him, gear him up, and throw him in there, he would be a strong lead for you. But last I checked and looked at your roster, you've got a lot of guys around gear 8, gear 9, which is not a bad idea, and it means you have a lot of guild power, a lot of power within your entire roster, which is good. But now, if you want to start doing and upping your damage in the tank raid, would be a good time to start focusing on a few key players and really focusing on being able to have one or two of your groups do a ton of damage. But as far as some characters to farm, I noticed that in your Empire group, your TIE Fighter pilot is only at 4 stars. He is a fantastic addition to your roster. He's useful all over the place, so you might want to farm him out of the Cantina battles. Kylo Ren is also a good one, which you don't even have unlocked yet. Solid player, solid character. You want to get him because you'll need him for mods as well. So any of the First Order characters, you want to start trying to get to 5 stars because those offense mods do come in handy. Another character I would recommend starting to farm or continuing to farm in the Cantina battles is Ezra Bridger. Probably outside of General Kenobi, one of the strongest Jedis that there are. And given that he is Phoenix Squad, which is going to be required for one of the later phases of territory battles, he's useful in getting Grand Admiral Thrawn. He's useful in getting, well, you already have your Yoda and Emperor Palpatine, so you don't need him for that. But overall, he is a great character. You want to get it. You want to get him and continue to gear him and make sure he's 7 stars. A couple others you're going to want to continue gearing up or continue to farm for mods is your Jawa Engineer, which you'll get out of the guild store. And you also want to start farming one of the Geonosians, Sunfac, in the guild store. He is a very strong tank, and with the depth of roster that's going to be required, he is invaluable as a tank, primarily because he has such a high health pool, high defense. He counters, he can dispel with his basic attack, and he has a high counter chance, so he can dispel on counters. So that's very, very useful. One character that you can get in the arena, I was going to suggest your Stormtrooper Han, but you're already working on him. So any rebels you can find in the arena store would be great. But there's nobody that I can think of in particular that you really need out of the arena store. In the Guild War store, you would definitely want to start farming Captain Phasma. You do not have her yet. She is great. Get her. Since you are going to be farming for mods and the Cantina battles a lot, there is a couple of characters you can get out of that Cantina currency. One of them is you will want to continue gearing or starring up 5s. He is super useful. He's a clone, so he doesn't really help with any mods, but his ship is super powerful, and he's a very reliable tank with both his double tap and speed down, so you could definitely use him in the territory battles. So I would recommend getting him. And in the fleet store, you can also find the Geonosian Sunfac, and you may want to look at any rebels you can find that you don't have have max, like Chirrut, Wedge, Biggs, Scarif, Rebel Pathfinder, any other rebels you can find in there. I believe Biston is in there as well, so start working on them. And Tusken Shaman, keep starring up him, because he's in a group I would recommend for you very shortly. So keep working on him. As far as some groups that you could use in territory battles, oh, excuse me. You have a strong rebel group with a Wedge Antilles lead, Biggs Darklighter, R2-D2, Luke Skywalker, and possibly Admiral Akbar. It's kind of the strongest group of rebels that you could put together, unless you want to switch out the Hoth the Rebel Scout for Admiral Akbar. But you could use them and get maybe a couple hundred thousand, well, maybe 100,000 damage with where you're at now, because they're all about Gear 8, Gear 9. And that 100,000 damage could definitely be useful to you. Probably the strongest group that you have right now is your Sith, which you could put Darth Vader as the lead. Under your Darth Vader leads, you could put Darth Sidious, who you will want to gear, and possibly even put one of your next Zetas on, if you're focusing on tank damage. If you're looking at territory battles, obviously they use a lot more light side, so Darth Sidious wouldn't be as useful there. But in the tank raid, Darth Sidious is very good. To go with those two, you're going to want to use Scoundrel Boba Fett, who you have at Gear 9. So we want to get him up to Gear 10, Gear 11. There's an Empire character that might work really well with that group. In the Snowtrooper, you have him Gear 9 currently. So I bet he could make a great addition to your Darth Vader Zeta team. And normally Captain Phasma would go in with this group, but since you don't have her unlocked, you might be best served by putting in your Ewok Elder, who is Gear 11. The revives that he adds are useful, so you could definitely use them. You have all of the pieces, well, I say all the pieces, you have a lot of the pieces needed for a Chirpatine group, which is a Phase 3 tank damage, in which you use Chief Chirpa as your lead, and you use Chief Chirpa with Emperor Palpatine with 3 tanks. For you, I recommend using Royal Guard as one of your tanks. You would use the Rebel Stormtrooper Han as your second tank, and the third tank in that group would be your Sith Trooper. Sith Trooper is a phenomenal tank in that phase, and he will carry you very far. Lastly, you have a very synergistic group of Jedi that could be useful in the form of a Qui-Gon Jinn lead, which I don't know if you did. He would need a Zeta to make this team really useful, but that is another option aside from Darth Sidious if you want a Zeta Qui-Gon Jinn, and pair him with Grandmaster Yoda, Ahsoka Tano, Aayla Secura, and Barriss Offee. Barriss' Zeta won't do a ton of damage or a ton of benefit for you because this is a very low health group, but with a little bit of tender love and care, it could be a pretty devastating group, especially if you start up your Ezra Bridger and geared him and put him in there in place of Aayla Secura and ran, or even in place of Barriss Offee and ran Qui-Gon Jinn, Ahsoka Tano, Aayla Secura, and Grandmaster Yoda. Could be a great group for you. And then, outside of those guys, you only have a few characters that are high level, like Darth Maul, Count Dooku, Savage. You could put the three of them in any group with maybe any tank group with a couple droids, and they could do pretty well for you. I'm not sure exactly how well, but it's kind of like a hodgepodge. I wrote down a Darth Maul lead with Count Dooku, Savage, and then the droids IG-88 and HK-47, but you could see what works for you. As far as upcoming territory battles, believe it or not, I know it's going to be crazy, but from all the information we've seen, Rebels are going to be very needed, very useful, so you definitely, if you want to focus more on territory battles, you want to gear people like Wedge Antilles, Biggs Darklighter, Hoth Rebel Scout, Ezra Bridger. Personally, I would recommend also gearing out your Scarif Rebel Pathfinder, because if these battles are as strong as they sound like they're going to be, tanks will be required, and Scarif Rebel Pathfinder is a viable Rebel tank, as could Obi-Wan Kenobi be. So you could use either one of them, but your Pathfinder is closer to being maxed or closer to being at a viable stage. In the arena store, you might want to start looking at getting a lot of Princess Leia shards and starring and gearing her up. She hits like a truck, and you will definitely want her to do all kinds of things. So stick with your Rebels for now, or a couple other light side groups like your Jedi. They have a lot of synergy, and they will be useful. Let's check out your Rebels again real quick. And what kind of Rogue One characters do you have? I see a K2SO is at 7 stars. Bodhi Rook. You might want to start farming Bodhi out of the Guild Wars store. Possibly Cassian Andor out of the arena store along with Princess Leia. Chirrut, you could definitely use him from the ship store. So there's a lot of stuff to get going on here. So really you need to focus on one group. And like I said, whether you want to focus on tank or territory battles, Wedge, Biggs, R2, Admiral Akbar, Hoth Rebel Scout, Luke, any combination of those 5 will be a great group in the tank raid, and they're going to give you a lot of benefit in the territory battle. So those 5 or 6 are great places to start gearing, and I would recommend starting to farm those shards that I recommended for you earlier. So Shaka, again, I apologize for taking so long to get to this, but hopefully the information I'm providing now could be useful for you, and hopefully you can do an awesome job in territory battles coming up and really increase your tank damage even more than you already have. For this time, this is Sekautos signing off, saying good evening, and enjoy the rest of your day, Chaos.